Okay, as we're coming into the autumn now / winter, with the menu we're going to start incorporating a lot of more slow cooked dishes, kind of more hearty flavors. So this dish I'm going to demonstrate, it's a slow cooked beef short rib. It's kind of a tricky cut to get, but if you know your local butcher, they will get it for you. Generally they come in 4 or 5 ribs about this size, but what we do is we cut them into single ribs. And what you'll find is a lovely piece of fat, you've got some lovely marbling and some lovely meat, and then it's attached to what's called the rib bone. So in order to enhance the flavour, we marinate them overnight in some red wine, and then I put in some garlic, some chopped carrots, some celery, some onions, and give it about 12 to 24 hours. This is going to add an extra layer of flavour to the meat, and also you're going to end up with a really nice rich sauce left from the cooking liquid and from the red wine. So our first step after we've marinated the meat is that we need to brown off all the meat in the pan. So I'm just going to show you that now. Once the meat is browned off nicely, we're going to add in all our vegetables and brown them off as well. So once the meat and vegetables are browned up nicely, we're going to add in our red wine. It's very important to bring the red wine up to the boil to kill off all the alcohol. And then once that comes to the boil, we're going to add in some beef stock, and then we're going to add in some chopped tomatoes and braise it in the oven for about 12 hours at 90 degrees. So because the short rib is quite a tough piece of meat, we need to cook it very, very slowly to render down the fat, to break down all the sinew and to maximize the flavor. So once you've gone through the process of marinating and browning it up, we need to slow cook it. So what we do in the restaurant, and you can do this at home, is that we put it into like a casserole dish. We use a stainless steel dish here. So put all the meat on the bottom, and then we're going to pour over the vegetables and the cooking liquid. And then we're going to get tin foil and seal it up. Make sure it's sealed nicely. And then what we do is that we bake it in the oven at 90 degrees overnight for 12 to 14 hours. By cooking it at 90 degrees, what's actually going to happen is that the liquid will never boil, it will just gently simmer. And then that's going to just cause the meat to gently fall apart and all the flavors to intensify. If you were in a rush, you could cook it at 140 for 4 to 5 hours, but you will find that a lot of the sauce evaporates off. But by slow cooking it at 90 degrees, you get a far better product. So again, if I was doing this at home, or if you want to try this recipe at home, you could put it into the oven at maybe 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening and take it out the next morning, and then let it rest in the cooking liquid, and then take it off the bone, which is the next step I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to pop it in the oven. We'd normally throw it in before we go home, and then when we come in the mornings, we take it out. So what you'll find the next morning then is that you will take it out of the oven, you let it cool down. The first thing you want to do then is strain off all the cooking liquid into a clean pot, and that's going to be your rich cooking sauce. I've added some chopped pancetta and some fresh parsley into my sauce. And once you strain off the liquid, then what you'll be left with is these pieces of short rib. So what you do is you just remove the bone, it's done all its work. All the fat should have rendered down off it because of the slow cooking. And what we generally do is give 2 portions of ribs per person. So again, these are your 2 bones that came off. And generally you'll know when it's cooked, the bones just fall away naturally. But the bones have added so much flavor to the sauce, it makes it an amazing dish. And people might shy away from slow cooking a short rib overnight, But basically, it's the same technique as doing a stew, an Irish stew or a beef stew, but all you're doing is letting the cook overnight in the oven, which takes all the hassle out of keeping an eye on the pot. So what we do then for service is that we take some of our short ribs, we place them into our sauce, and then we reheat the sauce with the short ribs to bring them back up to serving temperature. Make sure to keep basting the sauce over the top of the ribs to keep them nice and moist. So to finish off the dish, we've kind of gone with an Italian theme. So what we have is you've got a nice aged Parmesan polenta. We're going to have our slow cooked beef short rib with some salsa verde, some wilted spinach and some micro herbs. So again, this is very seasonal for autumn winter. It's kind of a hearty, Moorish dish. So we place our polenta in the center. And then we have some wilted spinach here, which I've cooked in a lot of garlic butter. Goes in the center like this. We're going to take our beef short rib. I'm actually only going to serve one because they're quite large. We're going to take some of the cooking liquid and just braise it over the top of the short rib. Then we're going to take some of our little micro herbs here. And then to finish off, we've got some nice Italian salsa verde, just to add a bit of spice. And that's it.